Hey, welcome to northern Wisconsin, to our lake home, where we are very an active family, and hydration is important to us, for all of us, including our four-legged one here, Cody, the German short-haired pointer. So we've been researching all the different watering systems out there, and we want to move from the manual watering system into Perpetual well. And so this is our entryway. In the past, Cody has been watered here and fed here for a number of years, so I think this is a good place for us. Also down below here is the mechanical room. So we'll head down there shortly to be able to see what that looks like, as we can easily tie in, access the plumbing and the drainage system down there. So we've done some laying out here. We know that we're going to be cutting in right about here into our wall to mount and install the Perpetual well system. First thing we're going to do is be able to take off some trim pieces here. This one we've loosened up a little bit. We're going to pull this one off, and then we have some space here that we're going to be cutting into in just a moment's time. So we've identified our location for the Perpetual well system to be right in this general area. I went and got my cutting tool. What I'm going to do now is cut out a little bit of a space so I can take a look in there, feel around to see what's in there, because we know we have an outlet back here. We have to make sure there's no wiring going back in there. We want to make sure we're in a safe place here. So I'm going to begin cutting this out right now. After examining the hole we have here, I found a stud over to the right-hand side edge about here, and then we reached back in and we found the other stud, but we also found about 2 inches in, we have some wires we have to accommodate for the running up this stud on the inside of that cavity. So normally we'd like a 13 by 13 inch hole is what the directions call for the unit. But in this case, we don't have quite that dimension, and we feel we're going to be safe by coming down to an 11-inch wide hole that we're going to be cutting in here, again up to our 13-inch height as the directions account for. So I've opened our hole up, and you'll notice we have 2 plates. So we have to cut one of these plates out, but before we do, we have a rim joist. So you may notice back here we've marked a line where that rim joist comes up from the bottom. We want to make sure we don't cut past that line. As you can see, we get a little close up of that as we speak. You'll also see while we're in there, we got these wires that we were speaking of here. That's why we wanted to narrow our opening just a little bit to account for these wires. We're very careful not to hit those. Our next step then is to take out one of the 2 plates. We have in-floor heating, so we have a little more space. We're going to take this top plate out to accommodate the plumbing of the unit, and again, make sure we don't go cutting past into that rim joist down below. So we've removed our bottom floor plate, and now it's time to begin thinking about installing the unit itself. So this is the Perpetual unit. On the bottom is where the drain is. Certainly in normal applications there would be a P-trap. You'll see the Perpetual well run down there. That would attach there. And this piece normally would come off to serve as the drain in the back, utilizing the P-trap. In our application, we're going to be down into the mechanical room where we have a floor drain. And right now I have our water system, water softener. We have our furnace draining into that floor, so I don't need a P-trap. So I'm going to utilize this piece which came in the kit, and now that's actually going to go right onto the bottom of the Perpetual unit, and then from here it'll sit back into the wall, and we'll attach a 90-degree elbow down into the bottom of this plate, which we're going to drill out in just a moment's time, and then we'll do all our plumbing in the basement, into the mechanical room. So what we're going to do to make sure that we are aligned with where we want to be down in the basement of the mechanical room, I'm going to take a long drill bit to be able to go through this remaining plate to make sure that we're going to be safe in where we're going to be drilling our larger hole. So I'm going to just drill a pilot hole down right now. So now we're down in the basement of the mechanical room, and we're going to look for that bit that we just drilled down through that plate. And if you look really close, you can see our drill bit came through in a place that I think is going to work out really well for us. Things checked out well in the basement. Our pilot hole came out exactly where we wanted to. We are going to slide over a little bit to miss a couple nails down there. We're now going to put in a 2-inch hole to be able to accommodate the plumbing running down into the basement. So we've got our hole sawed in, we've cleaned out our hole, and now it's time to be able to assemble the unit. So what we've done is we have our drain mechanism with the elbow going to be attached to the bottom of the unit. And you can see we used the piece that was included with the system, but then we also, as we were using the hose clamps, we made sure that we use them, and we're going to be tightening them from the side. So in case we have to make any repairs or pull it out, we can simply remove it or slide it out just a little bit, and we can access the hose clamps from the side. Now we're going to start to work into our PVC fittings. So we will put the unit in place. You'll notice how it sits so nice on the floor, and then the drain mechanism fits in. So we're going to be making a cutoff measurement now to be able to attach our elbow to be able to get that down into the mechanical room, down to the next level where we actually have our drain set up. At the same time, we're going to assemble the water line, which is the 1/4 inch line. So you'll notice our fitting right here for the water line. And when we do that, we're going to be able to come up and make a loop on the inside of the cavity so that it comes straight into the fitting so we don't have any kinking. So we've got our drain mechanism assembled to the bottom of the unit. We're now going to start moving into our PVC pieces. Let's see, this is the piece that normally comes with the unit, but in order for us to be able to get a little bit of a tighter bend back here, we don't quite have the clearance. We bought one off the street that's going to secure right into the elbow that's going to be mounted on here. So we're going to put this piece together right away now. Here we go. Put some cleaner on there first. So we're going to twist it just a little bit, and then we want to hold it tight for a while. Make sure we have a good secure bond. Once we feel we're secure, we can then begin to mount our piece on the bottom of the unit. And again, this will fit nicely into the 2-inch hole we bored back in our plate. Now we're going to be working on our 1/4 inch water line, which attaches to the unit right back here. So we have our 1/4 inch water line, we have our compression ring and our nut. The compression ring, you'll notice here, has a little bit of an angle to it. So we want to make sure that angle is facing toward the unit, and that is then going to be pressed into and seats so nicely into the stem right here. So we also, in the meantime, marked a pencil line to make sure that we know how far we're pushing the water line into the unit. So that gives us a little bit of a guide. And it does push hard into the unit, so we want to make sure we get a good grip on the water line and make it a good secure connection here. So let's begin that process right now. Here we go. We can see that we're past our mark already. So that appears to be enough. Sounds really good. We're going to now take our compression ring. We're going to seat that into that unit very nicely. Then we're going to take our nut, come over the top, and then screw that down for a nice connection. So far we've hand tightened our water line. Now it's time to tighten it to that float valve. You'll notice on the float valve there are flat sides on each side, and that allows us to be able to grip onto that. We don't want to mar the threads, but it also helps keep the float upright. So we're going to take our pliers and we're going to get onto those flat sides very carefully. We're going to hold that, and then we're going to take our 1/2 inch wrench and give the nut about a 1/4 turn. No need to over tighten it, but just cinch it up nicely. About a 1/4 turn to be able to make sure we have a nice connection for our water line. So we've tightened our water line. Now it's going to be time to put the wrench tightening on our drain system. So we're going to adjust our pliers accordingly and be able to make it. We want to make sure we maintain it in the right angle. Make it a nice connection. And we want to make sure that we're completely perpendicular up and down, and we should be all set for our install into the wall. Our next step is going to be to drill the hole to be able to get the water line down into the basement, and then we should be all set for the install to begin working in the basement to attach the plumbing and to attach the water line. So we're now down in the basement, down in the mechanical room. You'll see our water line that came in from above. We also now have our standard plumbing done. So we drilled that 2-inch hole, we dropped our 1.5 PVC pipe in, connected to the Perpetual unit up on top under the drain. We came down, we made our 90 that's going to come out. At this point we're going to put another 90 to make it over. We're going to connect along one of the floor joists here, and then eventually we're going to work our way over to the wall in the back down to a floor drain. But the most important part, regardless of where you're going for your drain, again, we do not need a trap on this one, so we're just going to straight plumb right into or next to our floor drain to be able to serve as a drain for us in this application. So we've run our 1/4 inch water line, and now we're going to use this fitting to be able to secure the water line into the water supply. So this is a push fit fitting. Take the water line, give it a good snug push, and that's well seated in there right now. So now within under this nut is a compression fitting, so we're going to leave that assembled, but we have our water supply. So now we're going to take and push our water supply onto that, just like that, and now we're going to tighten that down. So I'm going to hand tighten it at the moment. There we go. And then I'm going to get a wrench to tighten that down. We have a sealed end or an end on this side, and then we do have our shutoff valve right here. So my next step is to get a wrench and to be able to give that a little tighten to secure that water line. So we finished our drain line come above up in the entryway. We've ran our 1.5 inch PVC pipe down, made the nice connections up there, came around to the floor joist, made our swing around, and then nicely came down the wall, again where we made our bends, and then eventually ended up in the floor train. And again, this application had no P-trap, just because we're using the in-floor drain. So we've turned on the water down below, and now we're going to be checking for any leaks up in with the plumbing fitting with a 1/4 inch water line, as well as with any of the drain, and everything looks good. We have also then turned on the water. We filled the bowl, so we have water in the bowl right now. One thing that we will do is we are now going to be covering our sump. There's a little sump cover that comes. You'll notice there's a square edge and a rounded edge. You're going to want to keep this square edge toward the front. So we're going to set that on the little sump cover back here. There you go. We're going to push that all the way to the back because if you have a chance to look down, maybe a little difficult to see, as we put our trim piece on, there's a little edge. There we go. Then what we're going to do, there we go. Then what we're going to do is our side pieces, we're going to slide those on each of the sides nice and tight and firm. Do it on left side, right side, on the left side. There we go. So everything is lined up properly now. So to be able to get our holes, we're going to mark a line on each one of the sides. We'll be able to slide that out just a little bit, cover those lines, and that gives us the proper reveal we want to have so that the trim piece fits in, slides in and out easily. There we go. Now we'll do the same thing for the other side. Okay, we're going to continue the installation of our trim piece. There we go, right down to the floor. And we have a nice installation of our Perpetual well dog watering system. And that's a wrap. Ready to call Cody in.